Good morning, Dr. Morse, injury experts. Saw another kind of beating up of the Miami Dolphins last night, and now we head into week 9, already halfway through the season. It feels like it just started a couple weeks ago. There are a ton of players on the injury report. I have a total of 89. About 10 guys are on bye, but there's a ton of guys up in the air heading into week 9, specifically Sunday and the Monday night game. Now, starting with quarterbacks, we have Joe Flacco, who is dealing with a right AC sprain of the shoulder. If he does play, which he will want to, but I'm not sure if the Bengals will let him, he is going to be very limited. He's going to be very high risk, and I'm not sure he finishes the game. I would not be surprised if Jake Browning made it into the game at some point in time. Be very careful with him this week. Sam Darnold popped up with a chest injury, not overly concerning. Andy Dalton is now the backup this week after Bryce Young is returning from his high ankle. Andy Dalton is dealing with a thumb injury. Jaden Daniels will be back and should be ready to go. No concerns, no restrictions. As far as Michael Penix, I expect him to return from his tibia bone bruise, basically. And realistically, I think this is probably, hopefully, going to help the offense because they looked awful last week. Jackson Dart, no concerns. There's some rumblings that Tyrod Taylor's knee injury is a little bit more than mild, and there's a chance he misses more time after the bye. And one person even messaged me saying, hey, they're looking for backup quarterbacks. And I'm like, well, that might mean that there's a significant possible worsening of that injury or whatnot. Lamar Jackson looked fantastic last night, no concerns. But Kyler Murray is not a slam dunk to play on Monday, despite a ridiculous matchup. He was a limited practice yesterday. I expected it to be a full because he had missed a couple weeks and he already had the bye. Not the case. That tells me that this is not just a super mild midfoot sprain, but maybe more of a moderate one, which is much more concerning. Now, Kyler's game is running. He's not the biggest guy, so he has to be mobile, and that's very hard to do with a midfoot sprain. So there's a chance that they're just being cautious with him today, Friday, tomorrow, Saturday, and he still plays on Monday. But there's a chance they sit him out one more week, and Jacoby Brissett, who's looked pretty good for the offense, actually starts again. So we probably won't know this until tomorrow, but usually they announce the starter during their press conference. They delayed that press conference yesterday. The last time they did that, Brissett started. So we'll keep an eye on that, but be careful heading into Sunday if you have Kyler. We don't know if Mac Jones is going to play again this week or if this is a Brock Purdy reemergence. I believe they are playing in New York, and it's a little risky with that field, so it would not surprise me if they held him out one more week, but we'll have to keep an eye on that. J.J. McCarthy makes his debut or re-debut after his high ankle sprain. Maybe they have something good in store for him. I think it was a little suspect that they allowed Carson Wentz to play in the game with the severity of the shoulder injury that it was. I know he'll want to play, but it's not about that. You have to protect the player from themselves. You could have easily just started Max Brosmer because it probably would have been the same outcome. Unfortunately, Cam Scatabo is done for the year, but good news is that there's a chance he's even back by OTAs. This was a pretty bad injury, but it could have been significantly worse. They caught it in time. There was relatively minimal damage compared to, say, Chris Godwin's and some of the others that had a lot more damage. So there may not be a whole lot of long-term issues. So maybe a decent buy low given the severity of his injury. Isaiah Pacheco likely to miss this week because they have a bye next week with that MCL sprain in his knee. Realistically, he'll be pretty good to go after he comes back, but I think it's going to be a Kareem Hunt and Brashad Smith game against the Bills this week. Saquon should also be fine after his bye with a groin. Alvin Kamara has been banged up for basically a month now with different injuries, lingering ankle injury, probably the left ankle this time. I expect him to play. Devin Neal, the backup, the rookie, also dealing with an ankle injury, but I think he ends up probably playing and maybe getting a little bit more work than he did last week. Ramondre Stevenson has not practiced this week, back-to-back DNP, secondary to a toe injury. Toe injuries are traditionally turf toe injuries in the NFL. These are very painful, very frustrating injuries, especially for a running back because you're trying to be explosive and you can't because the balance center in the foot is in the big toe, and this is a sprain of the primary joint of the big toe. So I would not be surprised if he misses this week. This is a tough matchup anyway. Atlanta has a good run defense, so realistically we could see Terrell Jennings and rookie Travion Henderson probably split the backfield. There's also rumblings that the Patriots will trade for a running back at this week's deadline. So something to keep an eye on it. Unclear if that has anything to do with Stevenson or just depth. Woody Marks popped up yesterday with a new calf strain or calf injury. We don't know if it's a tweak or we don't know if it's a true strain. If it's a tweak, there's a chance he plays in week 9. If it's a strain, he's definitely out. So we'll just have to keep an eye on this. He was a limited practice, which usually is a good sign. If he's a limited practice today, I think he plays. If it's a do not practice today, I think he's out. So that will give you a decent indicator. And Nick Chubb has been okay. Woody Marks he's had some moments of explosiveness, but he hasn't been a smash that I thought he potentially could have been. Tony Pollard with a mild neck injury, he'll be okay, but they'll be giving a lot more work to Tajay Spears. Quinshon Judkins should probably be good to go with his shoulder injury after the bye, not overly concerning. Still time to buy low on him if you can. Ray Davis with a mild illness, he'll be fine. DeAndre Swift potentially dealing with a bad enough groin injury. They've been using a lot of him. He's looked really good, but they've used a lot of him, and it's hard because these groin injuries don't heal. And this is probably the same one. He probably retweaked it. He did not practice on Wednesday. He did not practice on Thursday. This is the only time all year he did not practice back-to-back days. So if he doesn't practice again today, I don't know if he's going to play. The problem is this is a ridiculous smash spot for the Bears rushing offense. So if he can't go, or if he's limited, which he's definitely going to be limited, the question is, can he be on the field? Kyle Monagi is the guy. Roschon Johnson is probably still going to be out with his back injury. So Monagi could have a beautiful smash spot this week. Keep an eye on this one, both for fantasy and for betting and for DFS. As far as Breece Hall should be healthier. There's rumblings that he might get traded. We'll see. Son Haskins going to be out again. Aaron Jones should be healthier from his hamstring. Josh Jacobs has not looked very good, secondary to his calf injury. And it's just really zapped his explosiveness. These have a tendency to linger. And we've seen Emmanuel Wilson look really good. So they're basically using a split backfield. And the only thing that's really holding Josh Jacobs' value right now is his touchdowns. So be careful with him, although you probably have to start him. He's just not quite healthy. Bucky Irving, we really don't have an update on him. I would like to get more, but it's a bye week and they're not going to give us anything. I'd like to know that he's coming back next week, but this shoulder injury may be more concerning than they're willing to admit. Chuba Hubbard, with that kind of lingering calf injury. He's had that weak side platoon kind of, he hasn't been explosive all year, and now that calf injuries made it worse. There's rumblings that Rico Dowell actually may be traded, which is kind of funny because he looks like the better back right now. But we'll have to see how this plays out. I would start Rico. I would not start Hubbard. Tyrone Tracy becomes the RB1 again. But he had that shoulder dislocation, so he should be a little bit better. Devin Singletary should probably also get some work. Emery DeMarcado banged up with an ankle injury for the Cardinals. I think he realistically returns and plays this week. Bam Knight has a fantastic matchup. We might see Trey Benson in the next week or two after he's eligible to return from that MCL sprain and meniscal tear, but we have to keep an eye on it. We won't know probably until next week. Okay, heading into wide receivers, you can tell this is a long list. Ladd McConkey, fine with a mild calf injury. If you check out Hayden Winks' tweet yesterday, the day before, there's a fascinating split between the wide receivers and it's how it's changed, and Oronde Gadsden and everyone. The wide receiver sets are interesting. The 3 wide receiver sets are different, completely different mix of guys. So Ladd looks really good. Gadsden looks really good. We've seen significant regression from QJ and some emergence of Trey Harris. Travis Hunter injured his knee on Wednesday's practice and was limited yesterday, which is a good thing because if he was bad, he wouldn't have played at all. So we'll keep an eye on this. I expect him to play, but he may be a little bit restricted. Brian Thomas Jr. coming back from that shoulder injury. He does have a history of shoulder dislocation in college. I don't know if it's the same side or opposite side. Wouldn't be surprised if he's limited, but I do expect him to play. This is probably more of a subluxation than a true dislocation. Hopefully he can finally catch the ball and break out because he's killed me all year. Roma Dunze, dealing with a heel injury, but he said he will play, but I expect him to be restricted. They will not have Luther Burden secondary to his concussion. He's not going to clear the protocol. And Olamide Zaccheaus is also dealing with a knee injury, and DJ Moore has that probably testicular torsion groin injury for several weeks now since the Washington game. So he will play as he always does, but he hasn't been very effective. So maybe we get a little bit more because I don't expect Colson Loveland to be very effective. He does play with his back injury. Maybe we see, or that was Cole Kmet. Colson Loveland may actually potentially try to break out this week. Rashid Shaheed banged up with a hip injury. Back-to-back concerning statuses. We'll have to keep an eye on this one because I think there's a chance he could miss this game. There's some rumblings that he might get traded. Several people are interested in him. I don't think they trade Olave, who's been really good. Diggs will be good to go with his ankle injury. He's looked really good, and I think he starts to break out. This could be another breakout game for him. McLaurin, unfortunately, out with his quad re-injury. Could be anywhere from 1 to 4 weeks. These have a tendency to re-aggravate to the same or worse level as the previous one, which would be bad. Cooper Kupp, new hamstring strain Wednesday or yesterday, one of the two. So this is concerning. This could be a bump to Torrey Horton. So keep an eye on that. I'm not sure if Cooper Kupp is going to be able to play, and even if he does, he's not going to be very effective because this is an acute injury and he's older. JSN is a beast, should significantly help him as well. Josh Downs good to go with his mild hip injury. He's looked really good. Anthony Gould probably not going to be able to go. Jimmy Horn will be fine for the Carolina Panthers. Puka Nacua ready to smash spot, although he might be a little bit restricted. His restriction is still better than 95% of the league. A.J. Brown probably coming back after the bye with his hamstring. Nico Collins should see no signs of dip from his concussion, although he hasn't looked very good. Drake London still on the fence about this one. Probably going to be matched up with the Patriots' elite corner. But we'll keep an eye. I do expect him to probably play. This is a better spot for Kyle Pitts, who has a mild ankle injury, but he'll be fine. Joshua Palmer for more of a game-time decision with a left high ankle sprain and a knee sprain, but they need him in this big matchup. He's their best separator. Matthew Golden will be in. We actually saw an impressive debut from Christian Watson last week, and he should only get better. They won't have Reed for a little bit. They won't have Dontavian Wicks secondary to his calf. Okay, Garrett Wilson, not 100% certain that he's going to return after the bye. We have to keep an eye on this. He's probably going to, but I'm not super excited and potentially that he moves and can move the same way, especially if we don't know who the quarterback is. Jacoby Myers should be good chance he gets traded. We just don't know where. Calvin Ridley also might get traded, dealing with a hamstring strain. I expect him to be out this week. Just because it makes sense to return after the bye. Juwan Jennings has not been very good this year. He's had multiple injuries, high ankle, low ankle, 5 rib injuries, shoulder, all types of stuff. But he will be the number 1 wide receiver this week. What's his name? Ricky Pearsall is out again with his sprain. Potentially he could return next week. Brandon Ayuk probably 2 to 3 weeks away. Zay Jones should be fine with his knee sprain. CeeDee Lamb is getting closer to 100%, but still has a little bit of a productive dip. Darnell Mooney probably going to take over the alpha role in the Falcons offense. Christian Kirk probably going to return, but I'd prefer if they held Jalen Noel instead. Finishing strong with tight ends. George Kittle dealing with a new injury, an oblique strain, but I'm not overly concerned. It just sounds like it's a little tweak. He's probably close to 100% from that hamstring strain. Hopefully he can continue to build off his work from last week. Kyle Pitts, as I mentioned, has a mild ankle injury. He should be good. He's in a good spot against the Patriots. Pat Freiermuth, probably with a quad bruise, should be good with really no concerns. Chiga Okonkwo actually probably not going to play secondary to what is likely a midfoot sprain. Back-to-back do-not practices. It's really hard to trust him anyway, so we'll have to keep an eye on him, but I'm not overly excited about him starting him even if you have him. Harold Fannin suffered some type of injury last week, but we don't know what it is because they're on a bye. Bellinger probably out for the Giants with a neck injury. Dalton Schultz didn't look good last week, but maybe he can get a little bit better this week. Cole Kmet, as I mentioned, may be a limited, or maybe able to return with his back injury. First time he ever missed a game in the NFL. But I think Colston Loveland could potentially smash here. Juwan Johnson with a mild neck injury, he'll be okay. Dalton Kincaid should be finally healthy with his oblique and has actually been really good this year. And Brock Bowers is finally going to be close to 100% and ready to smash come week 9. And we might be able to get lucky and it looks pretty good, but I'm not overly concerned about his knee anymore. that's what I have for you. I will give you a Sunday night update. Big weekend coming up. Hopefully you're positioning yourself heading into fantasy playoffs. And if you're looking for betting tips and everything, we would be happy to help at theinjuryexperts.com. We are on a heater right now. Thank you very much. Take care.